The rain had just started, thin silver threads slicing through the sodium glow of the truck stop's lamps. Sam Keller eased his 18-wheeler into the far corner of the lot, where the shadows were deeper, and the noise of the idling engines was just a low, distant hum. He'd been on the road since before dawn, hauling steel beams across 3 states, and now, with his hands stiff on the wheel and the ache in his back settling in like an unwelcome passenger, all he wanted was a hot cup of coffee and 5 minutes of stillness. Inside the diner, the air smelled of fried eggs and burnt toast, the kind of place where the waitress knows your name if you've been twice, and doesn't care to if you haven't. Sam slid into a booth, rainwater still glistening on his jacket, and wrapped his hands around a chipped mug. He took his first sip, eyes half closed, when the bell above the door jingled. A man walked in tall, wrapped in an old wool coat, with a face you'd forget in an instant if not for the eyes. They were searching, scanning the room like someone looking for a lifeline in a storm. He stopped at Sam's table, didn't ask to sit, and without a word slid a folded, weathered piece of paper across the table. Sam hesitated, then opened it. A crude, hand-drawn map, a forest, a river, and a single red X. "WH me?" Sam asked. "Because you'll be the one to decide what happens when you find it," the man replied, before walking back into the rain. Sam had deliveries to make. Deadlines. No reason to get mixed up in someone else's business. Yet, hours later, he found himself steering his rig toward the road that led to the forest on the map. Something about that red X wouldn't let go of him. By dusk, he was hiking through wet underbrush, the map trembling in his hands. The path wound along a river until he reached a fallen oak, split by lightning. Beneath it, half buried in mud, was a small, rusted tin box. His pulse pounded as he pried it open, but there was no gold, no jewels, just photographs. Dozens of them, families, children, old couples, all smiling. On the back of each a name and date. Near the bottom, Sam froze. There was his father, a man he hadn't spoken to in 20 years, smiling beside a little boy, him, at 5 years old. A note lay under the last photo. "The real treasure is remembering who you've been, so you can choose who you'll be next." Sam sat there in the rain, the photographs spreading out like pieces of a life he'd forgotten. He thought of the bridges he'd burned, the people he'd shut out. He realized the map wasn't leading him to something to keep. It was leading him back to something he'd lost. That night, Sam didn't return to the road. He returned to the people he thought were gone forever. Because sometimes, the X on the map isn't where the treasure is buried. It's where you finally find yourself.